Hi everybody, welcome to another Saturday night. My name is Peter Driver here from Biscari Fly. We're in Thomastown in County Kilkenny, and another another beautiful Saturday night out there. What else would you be doing on a Saturday night? Only sitting down at the voice, tying a few flies. It's lashing rain outside. It's freezing cold, and we're going to have a little bit of fun here tonight. Big hi to everybody that's online there at the moment. Hope everyone's keeping well. Hope everybody had a good week. How you doing, Aidan Gill? Dave Donovan is on there. Graham Lanigan, Declan Smith, Damien Devine is on there. Hi, Patrick Smith. Hi, everybody. Hope we all had a good week. How you doing, Joe McCall, Tim Sullivan, Damien Devine? So many is on there. Great to see so many people on with us here tonight. We're going to have a bit of fun, and I think we got a few newcomers tonight. There's a few people contact us during the week and like the page and asking a few questions about tonight. So welcome if you haven't seen one of our shows before. I'll give you a bit of a rundown of what we have planned for you tonight. But if you haven't seen one of our shows before, it's all about having a bit of fun. So we're going to tie lots of flies. We're going to have a bit of fun. If anybody's got any questions or any comments to make, please do so in the comments box. I'll try to get to as many questions as I can and say, have a chat. If you've got something to contribute about buzzers, because tonight is buzzer night. We decided we've been asked so much over the last couple of weeks to do buzzers. Hi Liam Long, hi Davey, Eugene Fagan's on there, Howard Croston. Good to have you on there, Howard. Hope you're keeping well. Donald Rafferty's on there. How you doing? Marty's on there as well. Declan Noonan. So what we're going to do is a buzzer night tonight. Evening. How you doing, Damien Devine? Robbie Berry, how you doing? Good stuff. Robbie picked up one of our syndicates there today. Glad you're happy with it, Robbie. May you wear any. How you doing, Paul Douglas? Yeah, no, how you doing? So it's buzzer night. So we say we've been contacted so much over the last couple of weeks for viewer selection nights about buzzers that I decided, you know what, tonight's night, let's do a complete buzzer night. So what we're going to do is I'm going to tie for you tonight probably four, if not five. If we can squeeze into five, I'll squeeze into five for you of my top buzzer patterns. Probably over the last 5 to 6 years, I've kind of gained a lot of decent buzzer patterns and stuff like that. So I've picked my top 4 and 5, and I'm going to tie them and explain how to tie them for you all tonight. We have a guest fly tyer on the show tonight as well, all the way from the UK. He's on the English World team at the moment. Terry Phillips, an absolute cracking angler, cracking fly tyer. Terry done us a lovely Spanish dry fly, and that's coming along in a little while. So make sure you stay up for that one. That's so worth watching. Okay, so hang on for that. And then of course later on we have the man himself, the one and only Basil Shields, will be here with us, doing a bit of tackle talk. Okay, and Basil contacted Basil during the week, and he kindly came on and had a bit of a chat with him for a while about tackling up for buzzers and stuff like that, fishing Loch Corrib. What an absolute gentleman, and so that's really interesting. You definitely don't want to miss that conversation. That's coming up in a little bit when we get a few flies tied and stuff like that. So I do Robert Brian Canty's on there, Jerry Morgan's on there. If you haven't hit the share button, folks. It's Saturday night live with Piscari Fly, and we're going to have a bit of fun. So hit that share button, and we'll get cracking on some flies. Let's get everyone on here, and let's try and have a decent Saturday night. So I say, hope everyone had a good week, and your weekend is going good so far, even though the weather's pure crap here. I don't know where all you guys are from, but it's pretty miserable here in Kilkenny all day. Lots of rain. We've no snow during the week, but lots and lots of rain. So, okay, let's get into it. So the first one I'm going to do is a very simple little orange quill buzzer. Okay, this one has worked for me for a long time. Very simple to tie, very easy, and a couple of key components to tying this one that we're just going to talk you through as we go through the pattern. Okay, going to start off in the vise there. By the way, I have a size 12 301 the Haku Barbel Sucker device, and I'm just going to attach some black thread onto that there. And say if anybody has any questions, please share them up there. If I don't get to answer them, Dave Donovan's going to be along with a trivia quiz. I'm actually mistaken there. Sorry, I haven't got my head into gear here yet. I was kind of running a bit late this evening. So we're not going to use black thread. We're actually going to use some Tommy fly for this one, okay? Because it's an orange buzzer. So this is Tommy fly number 13. Going to use for this one, okay? Tommy fly is a real flat, fine floss. And that's why I like using this for buzzers. And my nimsies all know, you see me using it every week and stuff like that. It's really fine, really flat, and it's very intense in its colours. And it's fantastic for doing real slim buzzers. And that's one thing I always want to get when I'm tying a buzzer, is I want to get it as slim as possible. Okay, I like them as slim as possible, so I tend to keep slim. Now, normally when I'm tying a quill, this quill buzzer, I'm using dyed Polish quills, but as Alan Lawless, no, I'm going to keep your buzzer, Alan. I'm going to keep your buzzer as top secret, Alan. That's our secret pattern, Alan. Even though it worked for us for 1 year, and we haven't, I don't think we've caught a fish on it since. But definitely that year, that was the best buzzer on the planet. I think that year, the first year of AWOL, Alan, wasn't it? That was an unbelievable buzzer. But I haven't had much success on it since. It's amazing the way flies go through phases. But I like to keep them as slim as possible. But say normally when I'm tying this fly, I am tying it with a Polish quill, but I don't know about any of you guys, but I'm finding it very hard to get my hands on Polish quills right now at the moment. So I'm actually going to use some simpler fly quill subs. Okay, this is the medium. All right, very good substitute. And gets the job done right. And no matter, you just put your different color threads in underneath. Um, let's get a split here now. Get the quill actually off the piece of adhesive material beside it. There we go. Okay. I'm just going to trim off just a little bit of that very fine end. Keep the sticky side facing out towards you when you're attaching to the fly, and attach it on back up there and start coming down the body with your floss. Now, as you can see, this is a straight shank buzzer. All right, and we'll be doing some other buzzers later on, some curved stuff and stuff like that. But up in my dropper, I like to keep the straight shanks. I was told a long time ago by a very good angler, Hubert Smith, that keeping straight shanks on the dropper stops them from spinning around as much as a curved buzzer would do. So, as you can see, I can get 2 or 3 nice layers of that Tommy tray. Just taking my time, getting a nice flat, even surface there. Just like so. Then I'm going to take my quill, a bit of quill there, my synthetic quill, and I'm just going to come up that body again, nice and easy at the start. You don't want to put too much pressure on that quill. Mind that hook sticking out there. And wrap it up the body, just leaving a little bit of that orange exposed to create that orange quill look we want. So a buzzer is effectively, it's basically an imitation of the kind of the phase between the pupa, or it's an imitation of the pupa of a midge. It's kind of it's the fly or the nymph in the stage between the larvae and the adult, as it makes its way up through the water table to hatch into the adult fly, the adult midge. That's basically what. Once you got that tied off, take away our little bit of waste, and we're going to whip finish off that little bit of. And you can see that orange thread under that substitute quill gives a very nice effect there. Mark Cotter is tying up a few flies there at the moment. Good man, Mark. He's doing some black ants. Now, I'm going to switch over to a little bit of black tying thread. This is Simplify Classic Waxed 8.0. And I'm going to just attach it up there where the thorax is going to be. Now, it's debatable where you're putting lead into that or not. You can put a little bit of lead, a couple of wraps of very fine lead up there in that thorax. Excuse me, to create a heavier buzzer that will get down to the water table quite quicker than an unweighted one. But normally when they're tied so slim, it's not a necessity in every buzzer. I find sometimes I don't. It's just creating a little bit of a thorax there for the moment. Now we've got some orange goose bites here. These are ones from our shop there now. How you doing, Dex Colin? Hope you're well. Trevor Blanket is on there as well. So I'm going to take off 2 little orange. Now these are not hot orange. For this particular pattern, I'm not actually mad about. I actually missed something there, and I'm going to go back a little step too. As is all known, this is a live show and things happen. I've got unwind this just a little bit for a second. I actually forgot I put a little collar in behind that thorax. So just take back a couple of turns, that'll do. So a little bit of a collar in behind that, and this is actually sulky copper. Okay, it's the stuff I use for the say it's the stuff I use for a lot of my nymphs and stuff. You've seen me use it several times. It's a very fine copper tinsel. I'm just going to attach that there, tie it in, and then just at the back of where my thorax is going to be, I'm going to put a couple of wraps back down the hook. Touch and turns. Now, I'll be the first one to admit my buzzer fishing has been neglected shockingly over the last number of years, especially since I kind of moved down into Kilkenny. And, getting up lake fishing is a full day event. It's a good drive up to Lochgool or the Midland Lakes or down to Killarney or Corrib or wherever you do. And I'm not getting as much in as I'd like to. It's on the bucket list to get back into it. But when I was living up around Wicklow and stuff like that and working just weekdays and having the weekends off, I got across the Corrib quite a bit and fished the Midland Lochs quite a bit, and I do love it. And I still do a bit of winter buzzer fishing. It's an exciting, very exciting way to fish, but I certainly wouldn't consider myself in any way whatsoever an expert. But I know there's some really, really talented buzzer anglers in Ireland, probably some of the best in the world. So I'm just going to attach on two little segments of goose bite on either side. And these are known as the wing buds or the cheeks. Hi there to Delaney. Dennis Goolan's on there. How you doing, Dennis? Norman Wells, Tony Regan. Hope you're all well. Great to see so many people on with us tonight. Fantastic. Thanks everyone for coming on. Hope you're all having a good week. Going to add another little cheek then to this side. Now there's lots of material you can use for cheeks and stuff like that, and over the night you'll see me tie a few buzzers with some different materials, but goose bite is very, very popular. Take away, just trim off a little bit of that waste there. I'll probably get one more turn just down the back of that, just to get it just right. And see, I'm not lashing on the trade, I'm just taking my time and just forming a nice shape to that thorax for myself. Very simple little buzzer, and that's the way I like to keep my buzzers. You know, the best buzzers I have are often, the real simple ones. Just pull that goose bite now slightly upwards to the eye. One or two wraps to secure it in. Again, be gentle with them, because if we're not, there's a good chance they could break off and they're going to have to go back a bit. So get a little bit of tension on them, slightly up at a little angle, and then just tie it in. Now for this particular buzzer, you can use sunburst cheeks or cheeks and stuff like that, but I like to use a dull. For this particular one, it's a little bit. How you doing, Mick? It's a little bit. Hi, Kieran Sherlock. It's a little bit. It's a little bit dull, and I like that for this particular buzzer. Okay, this particular buzzer, I'm not using it to glow, and you'll see why now in a minute when I put the UV pen on this. Why I don't actually use a real hot or a fluorescent cheeks. Couple of turns just up there near the eye, and whip finish. You can see that little copper. Dave Donovan, yeah. That little copper collar is just in there behind that thorax. Now it's just a couple of mil of copper, really. There's not much in there, but it just gives a lovely little subtle kind of flick. Trim away our waist. Now buzzer's tied, and like most other buzzers, you're ready to do your coat. Okay, now how you doing, Barry McGregor? Good to have you on there. Fergal Ryan, how you doing? Hope you're keeping well. Fergal Ryan up there in Kildare. Ryan Landscaping.ie, folks. I've been talking to Fergal every second day, I think, for the last 6 weeks or 7 weeks, doing some landscaping here in the house. And Fergal's been a great man, giving me some fantastic advice of how I'm making a mess of everything. But we're getting there. We're getting there. I think fair play to Fergal. But anyone looking for a bit of landscaping done, lads, Fergal Ryan is absolutely fantastic. Great help, great service there. So an awful lot of time I will use Sally Hansen's. Okay, Sally Hansen's or UV resin for coating my buzzers, depending. Some people, how you doing, Brendan? Brendan says they work on the river, good stuff. I'd say absolutely they would. Some people coat theirs up with UV resin, and I certainly do that a lot. Some people coat with UV resin and then put a coat of Sally Hansen over the top of it. That is what I do. How you doing, Alan Dunn from the Netherlands? Thanks very much for being on with us tonight. But you know, or you can coat up completely with that, or you can use an epoxy. You can mix an epoxy and coat it up and take some time. It depends how much time you have. It depends on the finish. Some people don't like the UV resin. Some buzzer men, and I've heard this before. They think it gives a slightly little blue twang off the coating, you know, and it can sometimes. How you doing, Seamus Roach? So sometimes it can, but my normal process of finishing a buzzer would be UV resin and then a coat of Sally Hansen over the top of it once it's dry. That's my normal way I'm going to coat up a buzzer. So I got my usual little tub here. I use the Solder Res thin and hard. Another really good resin for this one would be the absolutely Robert Riley. Hi, Lorraine is on there from France. How you doing, Lorraine? Good to have you on tonight. I use the Solder Res thin and hard. You can also use the bone dry Solder Res for this as well. It's a really good resin. They're the two I'd recommend. So I use a little paintbrush, little artist paintbrush, and I go into my little tub of resin here I have in front of me now, and I'll start coating up because I want to get a really nice coat on this. Okay, so I want to get a really nice even coat. Always start up near the head, put the larger amount of resin there. Now, a very key important thing to remember when you're doing buzzers, and I get an awful lot of questions from guys in relation to resin, and I know we've talked about it an awful lot over the last, I think we're on here now 18 weeks at this stage, and earlier the show has been running for 18 straight weeks or something like that, or 16 or 17. I don't know, I've lost count at this stage. But you know, it's very important to get the seal on the resin. Okay, and when I talk about that, I mean coat the fly back to the bare hook and make sure there's enough of it up around. Ken Woodward is using Loctite super glue. Absolutely, I'd say would, yeah. Good man, Neil Hamilton said, how you doing, Tom Martin from Utah in USA? I hope you enjoyed our show the other night, Tom. I was on with Tom's Fly Tying Club there in the USA in Utah Thursday night, and we had a great old night there. Tying a few flies for the guys over there. But make sure you get the coating onto the hook and as much as you can up around the bee or around the head without clogging the eye. Okay, because that seals the buzzer. If you don't, and there's a little bit of a gap there somewhere, more than likely that buzzer will become cloudy. Okay, your resin at the end will have a little cloud on it. So when you're coating it, take your time. It's not a race. A little bit on the hook there. It's not a race. It's just take your time and get it coated well. The coating is very important. So I'd give it a nice coat. Make sure it's all well coated up around. Put just another little bit up there in the head. So don't forget, we got a great show lined up for everyone tonight. Anyone that's just joined us. We have Terry Phillips on there, England international on the world team, coming up with an absolute belter of a Spanish. Now you can see why I don't put the hot cheeks on it. That Tommy Fly stuff glows, okay? And I just think the buzzer is there's just too much there if I put on the, and you see I'm giving it a good old blast that paint, even though it sets within the microseconds, but I like to give it that extra little bit of blast. But you can see the glow out of that back body. I don't need so Tom Hipwell, that is just a little artist's paintbrush. Very simple. Buy it in a pound shop for less than €1, whatever. I have loads of them. I use acetone to keep them clean. If anyone wants to know how to keep them clean, we have the acetone in our shop as well online. You can get the acetone off us there, and that's what I use. Now I'll just put a little coat of Sally Hansen on that. Okay, so I've got my Sally Hansen here, and a little brush, and I'm going to put a little bit of coat on it. Now I see someone there suggesting about putting lead in it. Absolutely, I can put lead into them. I do sometimes, but it's not something I overdo. So just giving that a little coat of Sally Hansen. Gets a lovely finish on it, a high shine, and it makes it very durable. Make sure we got it coated nice and well. The lighting up here wouldn't be the greatest for doing this kind of fine work, even though, because I have to have I don't have a light directly over the fly in order for you to have good visibility on the actual in order for you to have good visibility. So there we go. That's a decent enough coat on that. See, we're getting a nice shine on it there now. You can polish it up a little bit with a bit of alcohol afterwards if you want to get a real slick and real thanks Tom Martin, thanks Sorker. Yeah, they do, Miles. They will last a long time. Hard as nails, Graham Longan, yeah. But there's a lovely little buzzer. Thanks, Declan. Lovely little orange quill buzzer. Say if you can't get your hands on the strip quills anymore, well then a bit of the simpler fly quill, the medium quill is quite good, and It's simple but deadly. That's a fantastic buzzer. It really is good for stock fisheries as well as wild fisheries. I use that a lot for rainbows and stuff as well. Thanks, Peter O'Connell. So take it out. Tweezers on it. Don't put the hands on it because it's still wet. And then I just stick it into a foam block here in front of me. And don't forget, all the flies as usual. All the flies we tie tonight, I will ask a very simple question tomorrow on the Piscari Fly Facebook page, and all flies tonight will go to the first person with the correct answer. So there's going to be a nice stash of flies for people tomorrow, because I haven't done buzzers in a while, and I actually sat down today, and I really enjoyed tying a few buzzers myself. But they'll all be up. They'll all be up on the up for grabs tomorrow morning on the Piscari Fly page. Check it out tomorrow morning. I'll ask a very simple question. The question will be based on tonight, and first correct answer wins, and they'll be worth winning. So, going to move on to another little fly now, another lovely little buzzer. This is probably my go-to first buzzer, and really when I'm starting off with buzzers on a lake or any venue at all, first buzzer will go up black. Okay, I'm normally fishing 3 flies, but I always have at least 1, 2, if not 3 black buzzers. I start there and kind of work from there if I'm not sure what's going on at the moment, and then go through the different colors and stuff like that. Now, as you Google buzzers, and like there is a million different types of buzzers. I think in the natural world, there's hundreds of species of buzzers anyway. But as regards artificial versions, there's an absolute multitude of flies you can tie, and color combinations, and everyone has their fancies, and there is the good old regulars that just work all the time. So now this one's on the 611 size 12. The Haku again, barbless hook, and we are going to start by adding in some black twine thread. Dennis Gouland's on there, and he's saying that Deer Creek, he still likes that Deer Creek. I used Deer Creek for a long time. But yeah, I did. The Fine Diamond, I think it was, Dennis, is what I use. That's good, Gianluca. Yeah, Gianluca says he keeps the Sally Hansen a little bit warm in his pocket before using it. Keeps it nice and soft. I'm going to just take that back a couple of turns. Show you what I want to do here now to get the rib on. Just straighten up that hook a little bit for myself. Deer Creek, yeah, it is quite good as well. I used it for a long time. So what I'm going to put in here as I could probably call this buzzer a black and silver. That's what I call it. I got perfect rubber. Okay, so you all know perfect rubber. Okay, it's like a flexi floss, little bit denser. Yeah, Rebecca or Marty Allen's on there and said a crisp packet or a black and red is hard to beat on most waters. Absolutely, very simple, Mark. But yeah, I had a blue buzzer myself and Robbie Phelan's fishing stock fisheries. So I just cut off a little length of white perfect rubber, and I'm tying it up there near the head. Very important to tie it up there where your thorax is going to be. Okay. Get a couple of good turns on it. Keep good pressure onto that thread, and then get a good grip of that flex, and stretch it as hard as you can without breaking it. And as you're stretching it, come down and on. Okay, and it's making it super slim. They're keeping the body nice and slim. As I come down and I'm keeping that flexi-flox on the back. But anyway, yeah, we had a black buzzer working really well up in Adair, or Curra Springs actually was the name of the fishery. Me and Robbie Phelan there when Robbie used to live in Kilkenny, we used to go up fishing there quite a bit. And we had blue salt and vinegar crisp pack of cheeks on a blue cheek, and it was absolutely lethal there for a couple of years. So you're just wrapping up then. Keep you can let go, take the pressure off your flexi floss now, or your perfect rubber, should I say. Trim away that little bit of sticking out there from the start, and just wrap up along. But this buzzer would probably be my best fish catcher, should I say. So all I'm going to do now is take the flexi floss, and not too much strain on it. No, you'll see in another flexi floss body I'm going to do later on. I'm going to spin it and stuff like that, but I'm not spinning this one. Okay, I want to now. This stuff is not pure white; it's semi-translucent. Okay, so what we're going to do then is start wrapping that up the body, not too tight, and almost touch and turn. So just I always find get the hook a little bit on the side, and it helps you get a good visual. This stuff can be slippy enough. You can put a little bit of varnish in there if you want underneath. And not for this one, I don't particularly like. And I'm just winding it, and there's a very slight little gap in between each turn. and it gives an absolute fantastic effect to that buzzer body. A little bit of tension, just enough to keep it from moving all over the place. Taking my time, make sure every wrap is going exactly where it needs to be. There's no rush, folks. We're here for Saturday night. We're here for the next couple of hours. Have a bit of fun, a bit of chatting, a bit of fly time. So I'm not going to rush through any of it. I'm going to get it as good as I can for you. So there you can see what we got now is a lovely, lovely segmented body coming up. Kind of a grey almost. But when that thing gets wet, it will go a little bit darker and stuff. And it's absolutely. So now what I'm doing is, you can see I'm putting my finger on top to hold the thread, getting a couple of wraps because there's a bit of tension on that flex floss. If I let go too soon, what'll happen is that flex floss will unravel back along. Then when I'm ready to go, put the pressure on the thread and take the pressure off of the flexifloss, or the perfect rubber, should I say. It's similar to flexifloss. Some would say it's actually better than flexifloss. I know we did a flexifloss apps there a while back, and I'm going to just trim that away now. And it's really good material. Again, you'll find it on our website if you're looking for any of it. Now we can just tie it off, make sure everything's well secured in. And we can get on with the rest of our build. Okay, for the cheeks of this one, or the the wing buds, we're using a little bit of jewel mylar, silver and gold, and we're going to use the silver. Obviously, it's called the black and silver, is what I call it. So, going to tie in my silver with my gold facing out, of course, to you as always. A couple of turns, take a little bit of it off, and transfer the other section over to the other side. Secure them in well. And then I'm going to put a little thorax cover on this one. And this is going to be some Mirage, or it's not, actually it is Mirage, but it's Mirage Ice Blue Pearl, okay? That stuff there. So what we're going to do now is throw a little bit of that in there. And I'm going to double it up. Now it's a bit curly and coily, but you'll work your way around it. Just wet it a little bit, helps give it a little bit of a stretch, helps to get out. So I want 4 strands of this because it's so fine now. I'm sure I could get wider stuff in the shop below, but this is just, it'll work just fine. So once I get it straightened out, get the 4 wraps, and just tie it in on top. Just like so. And then it's golden. Trim away the waste. So is there a little bit of an internet issue there? Same on the far side. That there as well. Nick them off. Really good fine point scissors is very important for time busters, I think, because you need to get right in there. Then I'm going to take that ice blue and just pull it over the top. Trap it in. Just making sure everything's in the correct position. 1 or 2 wraps. I'm just going to kick up that hook just a little bit for a second there. Get in it properly. Slide the scissors down, nick it out, and there we go. Most of my buzzers are generally tied on a 12 or a 10. Sometimes I go to right, so it seems to be Sharon Hope scissors I use, and the one I recommend is a sharp edge. It's a really good scissors. We have them on the shop. You'll see them on the shop there. They're about €20 a piece, €25 a piece. Really good sharp scissors. Holds its edge very well for a long period of time. So there's a few people saying it's buffering a little and stuff like that. Look at, lads, it's a wild night out there, lads and ladies, should I say, and I hope it improves a little bit for you better. But definitely my signal is at full strength there at the moment. But there we go. That's our buzzer tied now. Okay. And now we're going to do a little bit of work on that, like, get out yourself. How you doing, Tom Ankertel? Tommy Lane, I see you were building snowmen during the week. It was a fine lad standing beside you. So now we're going to put on a little bit of UV resin onto that again, right? But we have one more little trick to do on this now. I'm going to show you, and I really hope the camera picks up what we're going to do in a few moments. So again, starting up near up at the thorax, put on a decent coat up there. And now you can see that little blue head really starting to come out in the top of that, off the top of that buzzer. Happy with that coat there now for a minute. Now I want to put a very slight coat down in the body. No, it doesn't need much, okay, but it's just a kind of a personal thing. Don't put a heavy coat on there because you will remove the kind of the contours off the perfect rubber creates in the body. So I'm just rubbing a little bit in there, very slight little bit, just to give it a bit of strength and stuff like that. Okay, we're going to give that a UV. So it obviously is the Alan Lawless there say it's working grand now on the mobile data. So it's obviously internet connection around the country, lads, is a bit tough. It's a while now. Give that a little bit of a blast. Okay. Nice and solid. Okay. Now, take a yellow marker. Okay. This is a yellow pro pen. Okay. It's a fluorescent yellow. All right. And what we're going to do, how you doing? Mom and Dad are on there over in Wexford. Hope you're keeping well. Hi, Dad. Hope you're well. So I'm going to just turn the buzzer upside down, and I'm going to put a coat of this under the fly. Now, you're not going to see it with your naked eye, okay, with our eye, but I'm going to show you an effect now in a minute of why I do this. Now, whether this helps us be my best buzzer or not, I'm not 100% sure. Thanks, Sorga. Thanks, Stuart. Stuart Mary's on there as well with us. Thanks for watching, Stuart. So I'm going to use a little yellow marker, and I'm going to put it just directly on the bottom. Now you will see it, actually I can see it a little bit in this light. You can see a small little yellow tinge in underneath that. Okay, the full length of the buzzer. Now you can't see it really good there on the camera, but you will know in a second, hopefully, if it works for me. Okay, then I'll go back to my UV resin, and I'm going to give this another little coat on the underside just to protect that color. Okay, a small little coat, we don't need much. And all we're going to do is just give that a little coat. And you can top up on the sides and the top as well if you want. Give it another little brush. And say, take your time when you're coating buzzers. You know, it's part of the process of tying these flies. Rushing them out and trying to fire them out is you know, sometimes can be a little bit defeatist to what you're trying to achieve. And I'll give that another zap. Now, even though you can't really see that underneath, but you see once I hit it with the pen, now if I can try and get the visual, it's not really as good as what I can see, but it's that yellow underneath, while it's not really in your face yellow, thanks Karen Sherlock, while it's not really in your face yellow as a natural pattern there like that, but once the UV hits it, it just is, you know, it makes that body look unbelievable. It's you know, it really does. Take my words for it. Give it a try, folks. It's not, the camera is not picking it up as well as I like. You might get a little bit of a tint of it there, but it's not picking up as well. Like, but a little bit of UV yellow underneath there, is absolutely cracking buzzer, and that is definitely one of my number one buzzers. Everywhere I go, that's catching me fish pretty much everywhere I go. Simple standard little buzzer, lovely little kind of grey black body on it, almost again like a quill. Simple little black head, but that little yellow thing, and you can see the blue. You can see that blue, the ice blue coming through in the top there now as well, just nicely. A lovely little subtle blue, and that, you know, they're two cracking buzzers, folks. They're going to get you fish everywhere, or at least you're going to have a chance. So I definitely feel confident that. So Dave Donovan's on there asking, does everyone practice their perfection loops after last week? So that's a real belter of a buzzer. Two buzzers done there. We got some more buzzers coming. I say Basil Shields is going to be on here in a little while with us. Talk and Tackle Talk. Our new segment we started last week. We're doing so well. So I give Basil a ring during the week, and he kindly, fair play to him, over there in Oughterard, went down into his shop there. His shop is Flies of Ireland, and he does guiding and coaching and stuff over there. He's got a guest house and stuff as well. His contact information will be up on Tackle Talk there later on. But Basil kind of agreed to do a little bit of a chat a little bit of a chat with us about tackle talk, setting up for the buzzers, fishing buzzers properly and stuff like that. Man is a world of information when it comes to buzzers. I think a lot of people agree, probably one, if not the best buzzer man in the country. He's on the lake plenty and putting in plenty of practice, so he knows what we're talking about. But now we're going to take a little break and we're going to head over to the UK. Terry Phillips, England international world team member, sent us over a little video during the week of a Spanish dry fly emerger to give all you river guys and dry fly men a little something to watch tonight as well. And Terry is going to tie for us this little fly now. He's also got some magnificent tips on how to store your dry fly properly. Now, I know I've struggled with fly boxes over the years, buying different fly boxes. I've stacked them downstairs, trying to find the perfect way to store my dry flies. You know, you have little compartments and they blow out, you lose them, or you have to put them into the little slots and stuff like that. It's you know, you crumple hackles and stuff like that. At the end of Terry's name, he's going to go through with you guys how to store your boat, and it's ingenious. Okay, so don't miss this one. Keep watching and enjoy Terry Phillips. So thanks a million, Terry, for doing this for us, and I hope he's all enjoyed this. I get to go and have a little break, and I'll see you back here in a few minutes. Enjoy the fly.
Hi guys, hope you're well. Hope you're enjoying the show. I'm sure Peter's putting on a good night as always. These kind of Saturday night fly tying sessions have been great during lockdown. Hope you enjoy them as much as what I have. But I have to say, after about 2 months, I still haven't got one of David O'Donovan's questions right. So who knows, maybe tonight, eh? So tonight I'm going to tie for you a Spanish dry fly, or at least an emerger pattern. So this is a fly that came to me probably about 6 or 7 years ago now. Came to me from a friend of mine who got it from, I believe, Pablo Castro. Whether it's one of his patterns or not, I don't know, but certainly one that gets used by a lot of the Spanish competitors. And I'll talk you through the tie and I'll talk you through why I think it's so successful. Okay, so I hope you enjoy it. Okay, so to tie the fly, got a hook in the vise. This is size 20 Demon Competition E320 from Troutline. I also use Duiku 611s. You want basically a traditional size 18 or a small 16. This is quite a big 20, which is probably around about size 18. But it's quite a small fly anyway. For the tail, we've got some grey yarn. And this is just a tassel I've nicked off the missus's cushion. But don't go nicking the wives and girlfriends' tassels off the cushions or anywhere else. They might have tassels for that matter. And blame it on me, guys. You're on your own. So for the body, we've got some turkey bite quill. This is a blue winged olive colour. For the wing, we've got some CDC, and this is just a Pardo colour. I think the original was tied with tobacco, but just to adjust the colour of the wing, body, tail to match whatever you're trying to represent. So things like pale wateries, you might want to lighten the colour, where large dark olives, you might want a dark grey wing with a darker grey body. For the thorax, we've got some dubbin mix there, which is both a mix of hare and squirrel. And then finally the thread. What else would I use? Piscari fly, Kevlar thread. Okay, so let's attach the thread. Leave a gap behind the eye. With it being quite a small fly, you don't want a big head at the end of it. So just leave a slight gap there. Let's just tie in some yarn for the tail. Not a big tail, just quite a slim one, and I like this this yarn because it's really soft, which I'll come on to later, and it's translucent. So all this is a shock basically from the fly. Cut that to around about the same length as the body. Right, grab a turkey bite quill feather. Just take one strand off it. And cut the tip off. The tip's quite fragile on them. You don't need the whole fibre for a small fly like this. and I'll just stick that into CNF rotary hackle plier. Makes things a lot easier, but if you haven't got those, just just use your fingers, or a standard hackle plier is absolutely fine. Just tie that in on the top. I'm just going to spin the thread a little bit just to flatten it, get a nice smooth body underneath. And then I'm going to build up a slight tapered profile so it's thicker towards the eye than it is towards the tail of the fly. And that is absolutely fine. Not too much, just a tiny bit. Drop of varnish on there. And then wind your turkey bite up the body of the fly in touch and turns to create a segmented body. Secure that in at that point. Again, don't go all the way up to the eye, you'll see why in a minute. Okay, grab a couple of CDC feathers. Depends on the quality of CDC, how many feathers you'll need. You might need 2, you might need 3. Again, it's only a small fly, so 2 should be plenty. Just marry those up to face, and stroke the fibres forward. And just snip off the base of the stems. Give us a nice tying in point. Tie that in on top. And just take your scissor points in and just nip out any of the stems or some of the fluff, so you get a nice small thorax. It's fine. A bit of wax on the thread, and grab your hair and squirrel dubbin. Just dub that on nice and evenly. Don't need much. It's great. This creates a lovely leggy profile in the thorax area. It's nice brown and black in light coloured tan mix of the dubbin. Looks brilliant. That's fine, just get rid of any excess. Right, now this is why we've left a little gap between the thorax and the hook eye. And we're going to pull everything over now, just like a traditional shuttlecock. I'm going to lock that in place. Pull all the feather fibres back, take a couple of turns where the eye is. Right, now at this point, if you want to, you can tidy up any straggling feather fibres from the thorax, just to neaten it up a little bit. Don't have to, it's up to you. And pull the tips of the feather fibres, so you should have 2 tips in here somewhere, if you can find them. There's 1, there's 2. Grab hold of those in your right hand if you're right-handed. Start stroking all the feather fibres back. And what we're going to do is basically create a wing which doesn't have any hackle stems in it. Secure that in place. So we've got a nice wing pointing backwards and the tips of the hackle stems pointing forwards. Just take the scissors in and snip those off as close as you can. Pull everything back. Just neaten up the head. So. And your choice, either a half hitch or a whip finish to finish the fly off. I prefer half hitches. Just do a couple. Stick a bit of varnish on the thread. And then finish with one more. Take the thread off. And stroke all the feather fibres back. And with your right hand, grab hold of the feather fibres. With your left hand, just nip it off the right length that you want. You want the wing around about the same sort of length as the body. Just nip it off a little bit at a time. There's no rush. Can't put it back on once it's off. That looks right about right to me, and that wing pops up a mile in the water. You'll see it from a mile away. Okay, the reason why I think this fly is so successful, I mean, you guys will know as well as me, quite a big trout, 20 centimetre plus trout. It's got quite a big mouth on it, so that'll come straight over the top of that fly, no problem, and it won't even touch the sides. But smaller fish, and certainly fish with smaller mouths like grayling, what I've found is if you tie dry flies with kind of stiff materials in it, so either a stiff cock hackle or a wing with CDC in it and a stem in it, or cocktail tails on there, what you can find is you think the fish is refusing. Often what's happening is the fish isn't refusing, it's coming up to the fly and it's pushing the fly away from itself by virtue of touching some of the stiffer materials in the pattern, and it can be frustrating. So what I've found is certainly this style of pattern where you've got, it's just everything in there is soft, it just collapses in the fish's mouth straight away. The conversion rates have been much better for me since I've started doing that, and I've kind of translated that into a lot of my dry flies. So instead of using cocktail on, if I want a big kind of a spent pattern with it, a big tail on there, I'll use mallard fibres instead of cocktail on, which are really soft but give the same sort of effect and same profile in the water. And yeah, whenever I'm using CDC, try and cut the stems out of the feather fibres. So that's it. Hope you like it, and it's definitely worth having in your fly box. Hey guys, quick tip for you. So what I've had problems with in the past is finding a good way of storing dry flies, particularly flies with quite a big hackle, jingler type patterns, or patterns with quite prominent upwings on it, so Danica patterns, March Browns, the bigger flies, even large dark olives, where you've got quite a nice pronounced wing on it, and you don't want that to get crushed when it goes into your fly box. So traditionally the problem I've had is these types of fly boxes, as CNF one, you'll put your flies in there, you'll close the lid, then you get to the riverside and start tying your flies, and when you open your fly box you'll find that everything's crushed. All your dry flies that were beautiful when you put them in there have all been squashed. So that's a problem when you're putting flies into foam as well. It'll kind of crush the undersides of the hackles. Some more traditional fly boxes you can get, which kind of metal clips, have the same sort of problems. You'll clip your fly in, it'll crush the sides of the fly down, especially where you've got kind of spent patterns. So you've got a couple of options here. One of the things I used to do is just get a box like this, which is actually deeper on one side than the other. So you'll pretty much find there that you've got quite a deep section, and you can probably get away with some quite small patterns in there, back to back, one on one side, one on the other. You close your lid up on your box and it doesn't crush it so much, but certainly still with the bigger patterns, as I say, the jinglers, the large dark olives, March Browns, those type of flies, even in that type of box you find that the hackles or the wings get crushed on it. So which pretty much leaves kind of one option, which is compartmental style fly boxes. This is an example here. This one's got one big leaf on it, and you can get them also with kind of little windows where you open up individual windows to get access to the flies. Now, problems with these are certainly when you're over in the UK fishing or over in Ireland, it's not always a nice calm day. So you'll find is you'll pop open your little window and the wind will blow, and you'll be spending 5 or 10 minutes picking flies out of the water or find them in grass. Certainly the smaller flies are absolutely impossible to find when they're on the grassy bank verge. So this is the kind of solution I've came up with. I'm sure other people are doing something similar, so by all means let me know if you are. What I've got in there is some 3M magnetic sticky back tape. So this is 3M buy. You can buy it in rolls or in strips. It costs absolutely pennies. You can cut it with scissors to any sort of size you want, and say you peel off the back, stick it in your fly box, and when you drop your flies in, they kind of stick to it. So when you pop open a window, so like this, quite a big window, you pop open the your fly box, pop open your flies, and you'll see there, well, you tip the fly box up and the flies aren't moving whatsoever. That just helps in terms of making sure that when the wind blows, you don't lose a load of flies. So hope you find that useful, guys, and give it a go. See you later.
So there we have it. Oliver merger by the one and only Terry Phillips. Super thanks to Terry for that. What a beautiful little fly. Some great tips there on tying the fly and the rationale behind why he's using all those soft materials and stuff. Fantastic tying. Well done, Terry. Thanks a million for that. Really appreciate it. And then great tips there on storing the dry fly. Get a look at some of Terry's boxes there as well. Great fly there. If anybody wants to see any more tying by Terry, Terry has his own YouTube channel. It's the Anxious Angler. Log on to YouTube there, give him a subscribe. He has got some amazing patterns. Sharon, I had a cup of tea. But he's got some amazing tie-ins on there and some great tips. Really good angler, and say definitely a YouTube channel to be keeping an eye on, because he's just some cracking patterns there. So once again, thanks a million, Terry, for that. Really appreciate it. Top job, and I hope he's all enjoyed it, and I hope he's all enjoying the night. We're here with you for another while. We got another few cracking buzzer patterns to come. We still have Basil, who will be here shortly with us, and we got Dave Donovan is going to have a question there at some stage. I think Dave, or maybe you've already posted. I haven't seen too many guesses coming up, but Dave Donovan's got a question, and we had a lovely spot prize to give out for the first winner, first person in with the right answer, should I say. And we're going to crack on with a bit of fly tying here now. So thanks again, Terry. Terry's on there, guys, if you want to say hello to him. And don't forget, his channel is The Anxious Angler. Okay, so head over to YouTube and give him a shout. Hi to all our YouTubers. They will be on here watching this tomorrow. This video gets put up on YouTube tomorrow. If anybody wants to go back on and rewatch it or something like that, Graham Lonigan reckons he could be gone to Penny's, Graham. Dave loves his old tripping Pennies on a Saturday, so he could be gone to Penny's, Graham. Maybe we're waiting for him to get back from Penny's. But it'll be up on YouTube tomorrow. So hi to all our YouTube watchers. People that don't get to work watch it live on a Saturday night. They watch it on a Sunday morning. So this will be up on YouTube tomorrow. And don't forget, we'll have the quiz tomorrow then. Who gets to win all the flies from tonight and the flies I would have done earlier. There'll be a nice little stash of flies. I'll show you them there later on. And thanks for everyone for watching and joining us tonight. And I hope you're enjoying the night, having a bit of crack there. Tommy O'Loughlin's getting a lot of shtick there on the messages I see, Tommy. Hope you're all doing well down south. And we're going to move on now and do a little olive. I'm just thinking now, am I right or am I wrong? I'm thinking here now for a second. I'm right. So we're going to put a little bit of black thread. I'm actually wrong. Sorry, I'm actually wrong. I was just getting my head around this one now as well. A little bit of olive threads. This is a medium olive thread. This particular one I'm using right now at the moment is Hen's Twist Tying Thread. You can use any medium olive thread pretty much. No, I don't. Sorka, unfortunately, I don't have it at the moment, but I'm sure you can get it in any good store, Woodies or somewhere like that. I'll probably have it. So all I'm doing then is I'm attaching on a black thread with my thread bobbin, and just going to trim off that little bit of curly waste there, and I'm tracking me olive thread down the body. I also seen someone actually mention there in the comments that they would love to see an articulated streamer being tied. So what we have been doing kind of for anyone that's new is that, say, this show has been running now since lockdown started, way back whenever. And every week we pick a different theme. Then there were some weeks we did viewer's choice where people came on and asked for specific patterns, and I tied them and explained them as best I could, or whatever their desire was. This week it's buzzer night So we're going to be here till Paddy's weekend. And probably after Paddy's weekend, we're going to have to give it a break for a while. Rivers open up, different commitments have to be. We start getting very busy in the shop here and stuff like that, getting out doing a bit of guiding and getting into the river and fishing, hopefully. If it allows us the restriction stuff. So we still have another few weeks to go, and we will definitely be doing a full night in streamers, river streamers. Okay. Definitely be doing a full night in river streamers. So we'll be looking for a guest hire to perhaps come on and do. I know there's some fantastic hires there that do articulated streamers and stuff like that. So we'll be looking somebody up for that. So we're going to just whip finish that olive trade off there up near the thorax. Again, very simple little olive buzzer. Was super effective. And then I'm just going to take the black trade and I'm going to rib that body up along. Trying to get it as even turns as possible. And again, you can see it's very similar to a quill effect. That black trade again is the classic waxed from Semperflight. Absolutely, Neil Hammond is there. So please God, the rivers do up. Absolutely, God, fingers crossed we get to get out. Just going to whip finish that off there for a second now. Actually, didn't even really need to whip finish it, but sometimes in a curved hook, it's just a good habit to get in when you're up near the top there and you're looking for the materials. Just give that a whip finish, just to stop that rib from shifting on you. Now we're going to use a little bit of flexifloss here for our wing buds, our cheeks. Okay, so this is a lime green flexifloss. Someone's just put up a link there for that magnetic tape, by the way, guys. So whoever that was, thank you very much. It could have been Terry himself. So got two little pieces of this. Actually, I don't even need to cut two. I'm going to cut it a little bit shorter for the moment. I don't need that length. It'll only get in the way. And I'm going to tie that up underneath the hook. Moves around a little bit. Tie it in. Move it underneath the hook. We want these wing buds coming from up under. From up under the hook. Once you got them in place. Has Dave asked a question? I see Graham Lonergan is giving out, so I think Dave might have asked his question. If he did, Dave, you keep an eye on that one for me, please. Thanks. And first correct answer wins. So I'm just going to tie a black thorax here now by just building up that thread a little bit. I also tie this fly with breeders out the front, a white breeder out the front at times as well. If I'm going to fish it a bit higher in the water table, fish her up near the top, I tie it with some breeders and suspend it a bit more than I would. This particular one is for down a little bit deeper. Create that nice shape up in the head there. Then I take my flexifloss, and the reason why we tie it in underneath is when we bring it up across, we want it to come up across. Now don't put too much pressure on that flexifloss, just enough so it's nice and tight to the body, but we don't want to lose the actual shape of it as such by pulling up too tight. And the same on the opposite side, pull them both up onto the top of the hook, just like so. That one can be just a little bit tighter. Just adjust it. A couple of turns of thread in over the top. And then get in and just tidy them up. Cut them as tight as you can get them. Good 5-point scissors, as I said, helps. Another couple of turns in there. Tidy it all up. Whip finish. And slip that away. Now, just before we do our usual coat and presents, what I do now is I get a high. This is again another Sharpie, fluorescent pink Sharpie, and we're going to put a little bit of pink onto those cheeks. So just from where the body comes back up halfway there, we're going to colour those in with a little bit of pink. Now you can colour them in red. I see a lot of people come red for this particular pattern. I like the pink. Just a little bit of pink there. Now, I actually meant to say at the start of the show as well, I know last week I had mentioned I was going to do the blindfold challenge, should I say. But you can see that lovely effect now that pink gives a lovely, lovely little subtle bit of colour there. But because just once I mentioned we were doing buzzers, there were so many people on looking for particular patterns, particular styles, and things like that. I said we'll leave the blind flow challenge to next week, and I'll squeeze it next week. But I said we'll stick to the buzzers now tonight, because we've so much to get through, and that's you can see that little bit of pink there now on those cheeks. They're lovely, and we want to keep that shape of those kind of protruding out from that what you call it, out from the protruding out from the thorax. So back to our little brush and resin, and we're going to coat that fly up. Again, start up near the head. Get your bulkier resin up there. And then give your body a nice little coat. Make sure it's all well coated. Take your time, as I always say. Now, if anybody has asked, I say it every week, if anybody has asked any questions and I've missed them, apologies. I will go back and watch the show again later on or tomorrow, as I always do. And any pressing questions, I will come back to you and I'll message you back or make contact with you. So, how's the quiz going there, Dave? Ken Woodward, good one. Someone who's never been in his kitchen. So that's not a bad coating on that there now at the moment. So I'm going to give that a little blast of the resin, or the pen, should I say. So I use my laser pen again. Give it a little tighten up. And we'll put our coat of Sally Hansen's on top of that then as well. And give it that really nice glassy effect. So take a little bit of Sally Hansen. Stephen Potts, I see you were on there during Terry Phillips. How you doing, Stephen? Good to have you on with us there tonight. Good to have so many people on here with us tonight. And I'm sure there's some new people on here. We're here every Saturday night live at 8:30. Every week we do something different. If anybody has it they really want to see or they really want covered, by all means, send me a message during the week or put up a comment there on any of our posts, and I'll get back to you. And if I can squeeze in between now and Patrick's sort of weekend, if I can squeeze in your requests, I certainly will try my best. Just a little bit of hair or something got onto that there now, onto that brush. A little bit of a coat on it there. And Sally Hansen's getting a little bit tacky for my likings right now at the moment. Good tip then. What I'll do is put a tiny little drop of acetone into that bottle, give it a good shake, and it'll become a lot more liquidy. You can see it's kind of getting a little bit of tacky for being used open for too long periods of time. But what I do is I put a small little dribble of acetone, only a little droplet, and give that a good shake, and that'll come back brand new. So I'm not overly happy with the finish on that fly, but still a cracking buzzer. So I think we have a winner, Dave, have we? Donald Monaghan. Dave is saying, well done, Donald Monaghan. He guessed Paul Dunn. Paul Dunn was the captain of the Irish team that won the gold medal back in I think it was the 90s, Dave, was it? Thanks, Michael McGlynn. So Paul Dunn was the captain. Donald, you're our winner. For you, I have a lovely selection of our new goose bites. And we're doing buzzer night tonight. We got a whole new load of new goose bites up on our Facebook or our website at the moment. And Donald, I have a whole selection of them there, and they will be posted out to you Monday morning. Congratulations, Donald. Well done. So there's another lovely little olive buzzer. As you can see, we like to keep them simple and slim, and that's very simple little tiny, little bit of pink in the cheeks. You can see them there. Lovely little buzzer, very, very productive, and you'll certainly have no problem catching fish on it. Thanks, Graham. And all this there, he catches everything, So hope you've enjoyed that one. Really, really good olive buzzer. And I'll put that into the phone block there now for someone to win tomorrow. So I've got one more fly left for you guys and girls. But before we do that, now that we've tied a few buzzers, we want to know how to fish them. So a lot of you's been waiting for this. The one and only Mr. Basil Shields came on. Give him a ring during the week, as I said. He's over there in his lodge over in Uachtarard. Many people have gone over there and stayed with Basil and been guided by Basil. He runs a guiding service there. He's also a casting instructor. He has Flies of Ireland. A lot of shops around Ireland stock his flies. And a really, really good angler, and and an absolute gentleman to chat to. Really enjoyed the chat we had the other night, and learned loads from him. And thanks a million, Basil, if you're on there tonight, for coming on dear Delaney, yeah, I always try and remember to mention the girls. I always notice some girls here. Thanks, Sorka. But Basil had a chat with him during the week about tackle talk. How would we tackle up for buzzers and things like that? So Basil went through the whole setup certainly, and we recorded, and we're going to play it here for you now. So sit back and enjoy a few minutes of Basil Shields filling us in on how to set up for the buzzers. And I'll see he's back here for another. I got another cracking buzzer pattern coming in a few minutes. So see he's back in a few minutes. How you doing, everybody? And welcome to another episode of Tackle Talk. We are very lucky tonight to be joined by the one and only Basil Shields from Muckleraird in County Galway. Basil is a renowned, world-renowned, should I say, loch style angler here in Ireland, and definitely one of the top buzzer anglers that's about at the moment. Basil, he comes from Muckleraird. He has the Flies of Ireland, and he's the Gillies Lair there in Ardnasilla and Lodge in Muckleraird in County Galway. I'm sure plenty of you have been over to Basil, and if you haven't, it's definitely worth a visit over. So tonight we're going to just have a little bit of a chat with Basil about a good setup for buzzers. This is Tackle Talk. So Basil, if we were in a boat together and I was kind of a novice angler heading out with you for a day's guiding on the lake, and you were suggesting that maybe today we'll go on the buzzers. What kind, what would I want to be, let's say in relation to rods and stuff like that? What kind of a rod would I want to be bringing with me or be looking to have heading out for a day's buzzer fishing on the Corrib?
Okay, most of the time, a 10-foot rod is more than, it's the most common rod used, really, soft. It must be soft.
Soft tip.
One of the biggest problem is people coming with 7 weights or 8 weight rods, or even 6 weights that just like brush shafts,
Yeah. So you're talking. Would you suggest a 5 weight then, a 10-5?
I would indeed.
Okay.
I use a 5 weight, a lovely soft. I actually use a Loop SX rod, and it's a beautiful soft rod. Lots of forgiveness in it, and that's what I would use.
And why would you be looking for that softness, Basil? What's that softness the key factor there for? That's for tippet protection, would it be?
It is. It's for tippet protection, for light leaders and out there. And like light leaders do really come into play during buzzer fishing. Now, not all the time. Like I've seen guys going out there with 8 and 10 pound breaking string and catching fish when they're in a frenzy,
Absolutely, yeah. When they're in a frenzy, they tend not to mind so much, but
that's right. But when things are tougher. Now, the other thing I would have to say, just when we're talking about rods, there is occasions where I would drop down to a 9-foot rod.
Okay.
And less flies and a shorter leader.
And roughly, just out of curiosity, how much fly line when you're fishing buzzers? Because I'm one of these guys that when I get into a boat, I'm like, I think I'm on a golf course and I can't put the line far enough away from me. When you're buzzer fishing, Basil, how far are you putting those buzzers away from you?
You don't need to put them a million miles away from you. Now, I am one that I throw a decent line,
Yeah.
But obviously, it would depend on how fast the boat's drifting too.
Okay.
You have to get down to the depth, the fish's depth. You know what I mean? So occasionally, like even bright days, you might throw them a wee bit further so that the boat's not spooking them, or windy days, you need to get them down that wee bit more. But you don't need to throw a massive long line. Right, so you're losing control.
Right, okay.
You just no control,
Well, that works in favour of a soft rod then too, that you're not picking up massive amounts of line and
that's right.
But really and truly,
the soft rod does come in for breakages, you
Right.
know.
Well, we'd be the same on the river. We look at soft tips and stuff like that, so we can drop our diameters and you know, really focus on tip protection and stuff like that. So that's very along that. And obviously, you know, a reel is a reel, and you know, it's set up to balance the rod properly is probably most important thing for a reel, isn't it?
It is.
But
That's right.
What's on the reel then can matter an awful lot too. I'd say, kind of, what sort of, you know, what's the go-to fly lines that you kind of want to have with you on a day's buzzer fishing?
Most of the time a floating line, you know, most of the time. Now, on windy occasions, on windy days, I would certainly fish intermediate lines, just to get you under the waves, so that your fly line's not bouncing about, pulling the buzzers up and down in the water, you know.
Right.
Now, again, Snowbee do a buzzer line which just tucks underneath the surface, and I like that line. But
would that be similar to a hover line kind of thing, would it?
Well, I think no. The hover line, the whole line will go under the surface. With the buzzer line, it's a floating line, but it just, the tip of it just,
it's a midge tip, kind of a midge tip style.
And,
right. Okay. Yeah.
Instead of you having a hinge like that,
yeah,
it just
tapers down.
Just gives you that little petering down, you know.
Right. Okay.
Now, if you have a bad enough floating line, it's going to do the same thing.
The exact same thing. Yeah.
It's just giving you, instead of that sharp hinge, it just gives you that nice little taper into the depths, you know.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And there'll be never an occasion you'd really go below that, because you want to kind of, you know, your fly line on top, and just when you were mentioning that taper, I'm just making a visual of it now. There's no hinge there, and again, we have a thing on the rivers where, you know, we like everything to be connected in a certain way. When there's a 90-degree angle or a steep angle on between your leader and your fly line, you lose contact. How important is contact with those buzzers?
Contact it's very important. It is indeed. Like, now, having said all that, I've seen more people set the rod in the nose of the boat and light a cigarette or go looking for something, and the rod near goes into the lake.
Right, yeah.
You know, but when it comes to real tricky days, like, and the tricky days generally will be those flat calm days where everything has to be right, and your contact has to be, because the slightest little movement and you just lift into the fish, you know.
Right.
So contact really is important. It really is.
Very, very good. Yeah. And then when it comes then to after the fly line, then we're obviously going into that great debate of tippets. You know, everyone has their favorites. I know I have mine, and you probably have yours, Basil, and that. Well, obviously, does fluorocarbon win over monofilaments and all that kind of other stuff for you on buzzers?
Generally, it does. When the fish are taken at depth,
right,
and most of the time it does. Now, occasionally I would fish mono if the fish are up high in the surface and I want to stay high up. But then again, I would change my buzzers to suit that as well, you know.
Right.
But
okay.
Most
so it'd be more unweighted buzzers then, would it? Be much lighter buzzers.
Yeah, there'd be more in the seals for, or the pheasant tail or the heron herd, that type of buzzer, and maybe even lighter hooks, you know.
Okay,
you know,
right.
You know,
and what sort of size buzzers then would you be normally fishing?
Most of the time, like it's size 10s, you know, like I do fish 4 buzzers most of the time, and like I would, you know, at least have 2 to 3 10s and maybe.
Wow, right, yes, they're big. They're big buzzers, like, yeah.
They are, yeah. But now I've seen 8s.
Wow.
I've seen 8s absolutely clean up. Absolutely, yeah. I haven't done many on occasion, but
right.
Generally, I would really just head for a size 8 on a windier day where I was looking to get down that bit quicker.
I know what you mean, yeah.
Before you drifted on top of them.
And you would you put lead in your buzzers then? You would?
No. Now, I have had a few buzzers over the last number of years with sort of tungsten heads in them.
Right, yeah.
I'm getting down, but no, generally I don't now. Generally, I don't. Now, I will use heavy hooks.
Okay.
I use the heaviest hook that I can get.
Yeah. And use that as your weight.
I will. That'll be my weight, really, you know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
That would
Well.
be more so towards, well, putting weight into them would be more, where you wouldn't be able to use a drogue or anchors, you know what I mean?
Yes. So you're more
So
stagnant
you have,
fishing.
that's right, exactly.
Yeah. And would that be anything you'd ever, not to draw, but I had a question, kind of was thinking about what, the things I wanted to pick your brain about before we come on. And I was thinking, would there be ever an occasion where you would use an indicator, i.e. a fly or a piece of coloured monofilament or coil or anything up there near the surface to help with detection, would there?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't
Right.
Quite a bit of say, bank fishing, or,
Yes.
if you were on an island even, or anywhere, as long as you were fishing into the area where the buzzer's hatching, an indicator or a piece of wool. Generally, it's a fly with me.
Yeah.
I just tie it on and a single buzzer. Now, if I was in the boat doing it, I would put a few buzzers on with the indicator.
Okay, right.
Would.
So it'd be very similar to what we do in dry dropper on the rivers then.
It's
very similar, right.
And I can tell you, lethal. It's lethal.
Away. Well, fantastic. And would you ever get many trout coming up for the dry fly? Is that, I know, when we're fishing dry dropper on the river, it's crucial that your dry fly must be able to catch fish too. Like,
you would indeed. Now, not all the time, but quite a bit of the time, I would have the bend of the hook cut off the dry fly.
Oh, okay.
Quite simply because a lot of these areas would be either weeded or rushes,
yes.
And he's going to take you through them for sure.
Right, okay.
And the chances of getting broke is huge. So,
right.
Now it would depend where I was fishing. You know what I mean?
I know, of course, absolutely.
A lot of the time, I would have the bend of that hook cut off, and I would just have the dry fly up there. Now, if the fish were coming avidly to the dry fly or to the my float, I would just fish dries to them.
Okay, I know what you mean.
You know what I mean? I'd take the buzzer off and just pop the dries out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And would you ever, or have you ever, or what would your theory be on curved buzzers versus, say, standard shank buzzers? Is there a place on your leader? I know I was told a long time ago that if you put a curved buzzer on a dropper, it's just going to go round and round and round in circles till it spins up. Where if you put a standard shank on a dropper, it won't spin as much. Was that just was that something that someone was pulling me leg with, or have you ever heard of that before?
No, I couldn't answer that, to be truthful. I just couldn't. I used both.
Right.
That's a tricky one. I think that's probably a matter of opinion. I wouldn't be totally convinced with that.
Right. Would there be a day where you feel that? Obviously, the pattern depends on whether you put it on a curved buzzer or not. Would it?
Well, that's true. Yeah, it does. But most of the time, my mind would be curved.
Okay, right.
Could take the other question and say, do you prefer breathers or not breathers? You know what I mean?
Yes, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Matter of opinion,
Yeah. And when you're selecting buzzers now, not to look for any of your patterns or anything, but when you're selecting a buzzer, I know when I'm selecting river nymphs, that behind my forte more so than knock style. When I'm selecting river nymphs, which would be somewhere in a similar, kind of format of tying as tying buzzers, are you looking for really slim buzzers? Very simple buzzers, or is it a bit more? Do you like that bit more complicated tie-ins, or say imitative fly tying of a buzzer, like where it looks more natural, or is it just really slim and simple?
Well, again, like if you've seen some of the buzzers that we use, you'd say, my God, why would a fish take that?
Yes, I know. Yeah.
I try and keep them as imitative as I can.
Okay, imitative, right.
I really do. Like, I try and keep them to the quill buzzers. Quills are just beautiful. Like, once they're tied, nice and slim and neat. But then again, I've seen there's one out there called the Bruiser, and obviously with a name like the Bruiser, it's a big. I'm waiting to tell you, it catches as many fish as some of the other ones.
There you go. It's amazing, isn't it?
I think it boils down to the day.
Okay.
Once you get that hard, tricky day, that's really when everything has got to be right. And if you don't do it right, they'll teach you a lesson.
Yeah, and what would your key tip be then for one of those real hard, difficult days? If we were out in the boat, what's the one thing? Would it be depth? Is it getting the depth right? How crucial is that, getting the depth of your buzzer? Now, if you have 4 buzzers, you can obviously cover quite an expansive depth of water. What sort of depth are you covering in those four and that cast of yours, Basil?
Well, depending on how windy or the type of day it was, like you would certainly be getting down to 20 foot, like.
Wow, right. So your leader overall length then could be 25 foot, would it?
Well, your overall length, the length of your cast would be, say, 19, right. 19, 20,
And do you use a taper on that, Basil? Would you have a tapered leader, or would you make a taper for that leader?
No, generally not.
Straight through?
Generally straight through.
Right,
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Now, you could taper it, certainly, and occasionally I have done it, but generally it would be straight through, either 6.6 or 4.4 pounds and straight through. Yeah, that's fishing straight 4,
Yeah.
But now I have tapered slightly, but maybe from 6.6 to 4.4, but most of the time straight through.
Yeah.
And the heavier fly on the point will
straighten it out for you. And obviously natural when you're on a drifting boat or even a drogued boat, the wind is always at your back anyway, so it helps. It helps throw out that line. All right, yeah.
That's right.
That's fantastic. Any top tips, then, Baz? Anything we haven't mentioned before? What's your big top tip for someone that's aspiring to be a buzzer angler this spring?
One of the things that I see most of the time, and it's just human error all the time. And I can tell you, I am a stickler for having everything right. An absolute sticker. It has to be 110%.
Attention to detail.
Attention to detail is exactly it.
And you see a lot of the top European and world anglers. I know you've been on a few teams in your time too, Basil, and you've guided and fished against some of the best in the world. But their attention to detail is exceptional. Now that's what differentiates them between them and say us, some of the guys that mightn't finish so high up in the tables all the time. Their attention to detail is phenomenal.
It is indeed. Yeah, and I would be a stickler for that. Like, I've seen so many fish lost during buzzer time with braided loops slipping, knots breaking, knots tied wrong, knots even slipping.
Right.
And like there's no excuses for that.
No, that's your own. It's your own problem. Yeah.
It is. That's your own fault.
And when you're attaching your leader to your fly line, Basil, what are you using? Are you using a braided loop, or are you using the welded loops? Make your own braided loops.
Yeah. Well, I don't make my own braid. I strip the outer core. Of the fly line,
yes. I do the same for an infant. Yeah.
And then put the braid that's left up through its own braid.
Right
up through its own braid, and it's like the old Chinese puzzle where you used to put your 2 fingers into the like a braid and try and pull them. You couldn't get your fingers out of it.
The harder you pull, the tighter it becomes. Yeah.
Correct. And that's and I'll tell you, that beautiful. You don't know that's coming through the eyes of the rod.
Fantastic.
Or not.
Yeah. Fantastic.
One of the biggest tips is that one of the things I see most is not slipping. The fly just slips off the leader, and you're left with the little curly whirly.
Yeah.
I always put a safety knot. I was taught this when I was a child.
Right.
And I always put a safety knot in the end of my line first. And then the blood, the half blood, bring it through and leave the knot sitting at where you tighten it up.
Yes.
And I tell you, you can't
never comes off.
You can't open it with your fingers. You have to cut it every time.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I've seen too many like trophy fish lost over the head of that,
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, that's absolutely fantastic, Basil. That was a great piece of information there. Thanks a million for sharing that with us. I suppose, Basil, one other thing then, if someone wants to contact you for a day's guide, I know my dad has spent a day in the boat with you, and he still talks about it. And it was probably 15 years ago. I still hear about the day in the boat with Basil. But I haven't had the pleasure. But I'm definitely gonna get over to you. Definitely, if not some stage this season when we open up next season. I have a big bucket list of things to do, and a day on the Corrib with Basil, the famous Basil Shields, is definitely one of them. But if someone wanted to make contact with you, Basil, and maybe book some accommodation or hire some boats, I know you hire boats and all stuff there. You have a great setup. I've seen it actually. It's a fantastic setup. How would they go about doing that, Basil?
Well, simply, I suppose, just phone me, really.
Give you a buzz.
091-552-550.
Perfect. I'll put that up for everyone that wants that information. I'll put up all Basil's contacts on the end page of the show tonight, where you can go back and watch it and get in touch with Basil there. Definitely one for the bucket list, guys, when we get out of this COVID mess we're in. Get over to the Corrib, over to Uachtarard there, and spend a bit of time with one of Corrib's great anglers. Basil, I want to thank you a million for your contribution tonight. It was definitely enlightening and brilliant stuff. And look, safe, keep well. Best of luck on the 15th, and hope you have a good season ahead of you.
Lovely, Peter. Thank you very much.
Thanks a million, Basil.
All the best.
There we have it. Almost forgot the sound. There we have Basil Shields. Huge thanks to Basil for coming on there during the week. I see somebody has some questions for him, stuff like that. But huge thanks to Basil. Wealth of knowledge when it comes to loch style and lake fishing. And really interesting to have a good chat with him. An absolute gentleman to chat to. And thanks for sharing all that information with us, Basil. I hope everyone enjoyed it and hope everyone got something from it. Picked up something. I certainly picked up a few little things there, all right, now for sure, that I'm going to be implementing into my buzzer fishing. Please God, if we can get near a lake this year. So huge thank to Basil. His contact details are there. Anybody else needs his contact, give him a buzz. He runs a guiding service over there. He hires boats and he has accommodation and stuff over there. And of course, you can find Basil's flies in most fly shops around Ireland, top quality loch style flies. So give Basil a shout there if you're interested in a day out in the Corrib. Well worth it. You won't be disappointed. Okay, we're going to move on. Thanks everyone for watching. Hope everyone's enjoying the show. We still have another fly to go, another buzzer to go, and great to see so many people on there watching it. And we're here every Saturday night live at 8:30. Next week's team, I still haven't decided, and I'm toying with a few ideas, but I will let you know kind of middle to the end of the week of what we are going to do and who we have coming on our show. So make sure you tune in next week. And as always, if you need any fly fishing or fly tying gear, check out www.scaryfly.com. It's our website, and we look after you. If you ever have any questions, I say it every week. If anybody ever has any questions or they need some information on gear or flies or fishing or anything like that, don't be afraid to send us a message. Pick up the phone, give us a ring. Sharon Hope, I have fished Laois Angling Centre many times. Also, actually, I see Neil Hamilton. So the hooks I use for my buzzers would be either the 302 or a 301 if I'm looking for a real fine wire buzzer. Thanks, Nigel. Or if a curved buzzer, I'm using the 611. And they're all the Haku barbless hooks I'm using. So I'm going to do our last fly of the night here. Okay, this is a little bit wrong thread again. I think that's the third or fourth time I've actually managed to put the wrong thread on to start while I'm kind of yapping away. But a little bit of Kevlar to start this fly off. But I was saying, if anybody has any questions or they want information or they're kind of struggling on, choosing the right kind of gear or whatever, please give us a shout at pescaryfly.com or go onto our Facebook page, or if you've got my number, it's there on all our social media. Give us a buzz. We're always willing to have a chat and make sure you get sorted properly. Okay, so got a little bit of white CDC here. Going to put a little breeder on this one. Small little pinch of white CDC. And I'm going to tie that in first. I don't want much, just a little bit. Okay, trim off your waist. Must be something that's in the tea, all right. I'm actually on tea, lads. I'm actually very good tonight now. I'm on the fizzy water. On the fizzy water. I had an old bottle of wine there last night, and wasn't the best after today. So I said, you know what, now tonight, and I know I was doing buzzers, and I needed a steady hand for it. So I said, I'll stay off the gargle tonight and have a bit of fizzy water. Might have one after the show when I'm sitting down watching the back, watching all their questions and stuff. We'll finish off that Kevlar. The reason why I use the Kevlar is because it's so fine, so light on the hook that no problem. Dennis Gouland's on there. Dennis is also a renowned top class buzzer man. I know I fished with Dennis in the AWOL Winter League and stuff like that, and when he goes on the buzzers, you're in trouble. Thanks for watching, Dennis, and thanks everyone for watching, and thanks everyone for contributing too. Oh, sorry, you're actually right, Sean Gerard. I actually noticed that was a bit of a typo when I was watching that final thing. That Basil's number is actually 091552550 if anybody wants it. Thanks for that there, Sean Gerard. Just put that up. That was my mistake. I was going to correct it afterwards before it goes up onto YouTube. Now, I've got a little pearl glass bead up on that, and this is to act like a little air bubble or an air sac when this buzzer is making its way through the water columns, okay? So, I'm going to then attach a little bit of my classic black pine thread. And I'm going to put in some black flexi floss here now. And we're going to do this the very same process of the way we did. Yes, Ollie Farr, I haven't forgot the blind flow challenge. That will actually be next week because we had so much. Once I said I was doing buzzers tonight, there was so many people looking for different stuff and things like that. That I said, you know what, I'm going to put off the blind flow challenge till next week. So that'll be up on next week's show. So I'm again stretching that flexi floss really, really hard out the back. Just, not enough to break it, obviously, but very close to it. Getting it as thin as possible so I can keep that body as thin as possible for the moment. Okay, put that away into a spring, leave it out of the way. I got some pearl, Uni Mylar pearl size 16 here. Okay. Absolutely, Tony. Fair myself. Yeah. For the Valentine bubbles tomorrow. I know. Actually, I was a real romantic now. I actually proposed to the wife on Valentine's Day 6 years ago. 6 years ago, I proposed to the wife on Valentine's Day. First thing in the morning, just before the Six Nations come on. So it'll be we got out of the way so we could watch the match. No, yeah. So Valentine's Day is a day we remember. All right. So little bit of that. Pearl in there. I know I'm just going to coat that hook with my thread. Again, making sure I have it all covered, but yeah, I don't want thanks, Chris. I don't want it too bulky. Okay, now I'm going to take my pearl, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to wind it up the body like a rib. So I'm leaving a couple of mil as I go up along there. The first one was wrong. Just go back and start again. If it doesn't look right, just go back and start again. Again, on a curved hook, I find it easy if you turn the hook to the side. And it allows much easier to get ribs and stuff up along. Take your time, get the spacing right in it. Throw the thread over a couple of times just to tie that in there. Put the pressure back on the thread. You can straighten up the hook there for a minute. Get a couple of nice wraps in the back. Let that bead. Secure everything in. Lawrence has put up a number there as well. Thanks for that, Lawrence, of Basil's number for anybody that's outside Ireland that once we get a bit of tourism coming back into the country, please God, we'll see a lot of tourists getting back onto the lakes in the Corrib. So what I'm doing here now is I'm getting the flexi floss, and you can see I'm spinning it in my hands. Okay, so I wanted to, not to be flat. I want this to be perfectly round and create a nice rib up this body. Okay, give it a good spin. Now, before you start putting on this, put an extra couple of wraps of thread up there at the back of the bead for the moment. Okay, throw on an extra 10 or 15 wraps because we're actually going to twist. We're going to twist it. I'm not going to wind it around my hands. I'm actually going to use the vice to put this on. So I'm holding it out, a little bit of tension on it, and I'm putting those wraps in. The reason why I put on the thread is because that thread is actually unwrapping as I'm doing this. So those extra couple of wraps to stop that whatchamacallit coming loose, the pearl. So what I'm doing now is I'm putting the flexi floss up along the edge of the pearl. Take your time and get it right. It looks class when it's finished. So take your time, up along the pearl, just on the edge of that pearl rib you put in. This is a size 10 611, by the way, for this particular buzzer. Get up there to the head. Still keep the tension on that flexi floss. And throw a couple of turns over the top. Put the tension back on the thread. And just hold that back there. And trap it back in, back across the fly. And it just stops it moving. Because we put tension there to spun it. If a thread slips or turn slips there or anything like that happens, that can become undone quite easy. Now this is a soft body. I would describe this as a soft body buzzer. Okay, we're not going to resin that. We're not going to do anything with that body as such. We're going to leave it as that, and it's soft. It's a soft body buzzer. Again, I was taught many years ago on some lake with somebody that sometimes a soft body buzzer can work an awful lot better when fish feels that hardness of the resin or epoxy buzzers. They can spit at times that where they feel that nice soft of the flexi. Well then, they're not at a tendency to spit it out as quick on any given day. Now for the thorax cover here, we're using, I'm just looking at the original pattern here now, we're using a little bit of the pearl. So we got our pearl, the same as what we put on the body. And we're going to tie that in over the back. And again, I'm going to double that up. Okay. Tie it in there. Just secure it in for a second. Hold it back out of the way in our spring. For the cheeks here now, we're going to use a little bit of number 11 glow bright. Okay. Take off a chunk of it. And for this size, I will double and quadruple it. So I'll have 4 strands of. Now, really good tip here, and I have no water here to it. But if I was tying a load of these buzzers and I was using glow bright with my hands, I would go and wash my hands beforehand, because after tying a fly and a couple of flies and that, you do get a lot of dirt and grime on the hands, and it can dull that, and I really want that intense yellow color for these cheeks. So I would recommend that you go and clean your hands when you're doing these buzzers. What I would often do here is if I was sitting down tying 20 or 30 this style of buzzer and I know there's going to be glow bright cheeks, I will do all the tying of everything else, have them 20 or 30 of them finished there, ready for putting on the cheeks, clean the hands, and then just literally do the cheeks, and it doesn't affect it as much. So I'm just going to lap that over. I'm actually not, what, I'm going to take away a bit of waste on that side, and I'm going to rotate the waste and just trap it in on this side as well. Get them both into position, slightly down on the thorax, down to the bottom end of the hook. Trim away. Just blowing some of them little fibres out of the way. And then start forming that thorax. Come back down on the hook a bit, and when you're coming back down, make sure you hold everything in place that we don't bring it under the hook. It doesn't need to be under there. We don't want to go much bigger than the bead with our thorax here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull over. I'm going to start pulling up my. So what I'm going to do with the glow bright is I'm going to start twisting that now. Twist those 4 strands here. Try not go near the section that's actually going to be on the fly, because you will discolor it. Twist them together. Pull them up. Turn right in behind the bead. Like so. Give it a second turn to hold it in place. Take the other side and do the very same. If it's a bit short, feel like that, you find it hard to get a twist on it, pull it tight, pull all the 4 strands tight, get a hackle pliers in there, catch it with the hackle pliers, give it a couple of twists. And then pull it up there as well. Take away your hackle pliers, and once you got it trapped in, give it a second turn. I'm very cautious of how many turns I put in behind that bead. I don't want to overbuild it up. Get in there, snip away your waist. Take your pearl and pull that over the top. Again, 1 or 2 turns just to trap it in. I want to keep that thread to a minimal up there. Yeah, it is. Washing the hands before using blow bright with the hands is a Gordon is a really important thing to do. I know. So a couple of turns of a whip finish in behind the bead. Just make sure we don't trap any of that CDC back. Tighten it up. Snip away your waist. Now I'm just going to trim that. Now normally I'd always say pluck it, and you can get your fingernail there, but it's kind of awkward, and you do run the risk if you can't get really good grip on that CDC that you will actually pluck it out altogether. I don't want it that long. I just want it small little set of breathers. So I'm just going in there with the scissors and not doing a straight cut across, just getting it a little bit rough. So go in at a slight little angle and just snip out some of those. Make it look like a nice natural kind of cut on it there. Now, a little bit of resin only on the thorax. We're not going down the body, okay? Just the thorax. We're going to coat that thorax up onto the bead. Again, using my little artist brush. Getting a nice layer of resin up there. That'll protect that glow bright from becoming discolored, give it a bit of strength, and it gives a lovely kind of look to the fly, having it just the head of it done in the resin. The effect of the resin on the body of this one, it doesn't do it any favors. Little shot of the torch or the pen, the laser pen. Harden it all up. You can put a little coat of Sally on that now as well if you want, just on the head, if you want to get that real top glassy effect on the head of that fly. But there you go. Very simple little buzzer again. Absolutely another pattern that has, over say, the last sort of 5 or 6 years, that has been a real outstanding pattern for me. And the glass bead is just that air bubble. You got your cheeks, you got your yeah, Darius, white marabou actually works well for breeders as well. Absolutely, there's lots of stuff out there. Thanks, Miles Riley. That's a real good buzzer. And just dropped it. But I'll find it, and that will go into the foam. I don't even know where it went. Can't see. Anyway, I'll find it in a minute. But that'll go into our foam patch. Here we got the foam. We got all our flies there, tied from today and yesterday or this morning, and we'll do a little draw for that tomorrow. So that's it, folks. It's after 10 o'clock. It was an extra long show tonight. I hope you all really enjoyed it. Huge thanks to our contributors, all of you guys that come on and comment and had a bit of fun there, a bit of crack and a bit of banter. That's what it's all about, guys. Massive thanks to Terry Phillips from the UK. Don't forget to check out his YouTube channel, The Anxious Angler, trying a fantastic fly. Well done. Thanks a million, Terry. Really appreciate it. And huge thanks again to Basil Shields from Muckdorard, County Galway, for coming on, giving us a little tip. Little tips there on how to set up properly for the buzzers and how to fish them. So really appreciate the contribution. Again, thanks to everybody for watching. Thanks to everybody for your support here on Pescari Fly. We really appreciate it. We're back here live next Saturday night with another great show. A couple of guests coming on, a couple of videos and stuff like that. So make sure you drop by next Saturday night if you're doing nothing else, and say hello. And that's it, folks. Hope everyone enjoys the rest of the weekend. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday night. Hi, Joe Trill. Just see Joe Trill's name popping up there. Joe, hope you and all the family are well over there in the Corrib. Look at That's it. If you need any fishing gear, fly time gear, give us a shout at www.scaryfly.com, and we'll do our best to help you out. If you ever have any questions or anything like that, or knowledge, or something you want to know, please pick up the phone, give me a bell, text, or an email, or whatever, and I'll do my best to help you out. So thanks again, everyone, for watching. Good night. Stay safe, everyone, and see you all next Saturday night at 8:30. Don't forget. Bye.